Everything I've heard and I've listened to this week they keep saying Miami has got to play almost a perfect game, that they got to play their best game, the most perfect game. I'm on the other side. I think Indiana has played so well. I think Miami's defensive interior, that defensive line, I think it's going to give Indiana trouble. And I think Indiana's got to out-physical that defensive line. If Miami comes out, I think their first goal is they got to be more physical, because that whole Cignetti, that mindset of we're not just going to outplay you, we're going to out-physical, we're going to do everything. We're not going to have penalties, we're not going to turn the ball over, and we're going to out-physical you and do everything. We're going to put our will in. That's what I'm saying. I'm more worried about Indiana's offensive line, because I think their key, they've got to run the football. They've got to run the football for their play action and opening that passing game up. And if Miami is getting pressure on the quarterback and they're causing havoc and Indiana is not able to run the football, it's going to be closer than and it's going to be a low scoring. I couldn't believe the 47.5 points. Or the spread 8.5. To me, that's just too much.
I'm with you. I mean, it's the old quote: everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and there are going to be some punches thrown here. These are two tough-minded coaches. Cristobal's got an offensive line background. That's a tough team, and that's why I mentioned the line earlier, and you did too, Jeff. I mean, these are two that both lines really on the Miami side. You've got prospects. Not that it's all about the prospects, but that Ruben Bain on Miami, he presumably is the first defensive end taken in the NFL draft as of right now. So that's a top prospect. Misador on the other side has been a great bookend there as well. I think he had 50, something like 12 or 15 sacks this season. He seems healthy coming back from his injury. And that was the issue for Indiana in years past, especially last year. They had a great team, but when they matched up against teams that clearly had a lot of 5-star style recruits, the one issue wasn't effort, it wasn't anything like that. It was the fact that you looked across to the person on your other side and they had a size, speed, strength advantage. Now, last year that kind of did them in. They had trouble against the Ohio States and Notre Dames of the world, even Michigan. They barely beat Michigan last year when they were kind of going through their tough stretch, just because that was a lot of big boys that they were going against. This year, it's different. They got bigger recruits, but they still don't always have that advantage. And against Miami, I don't think they're going to have that advantage. I think you brought up one of the main points that I wanted to mention, because I'm big on game script. It's hard to predict a game because it really comes down to, okay, what's happening in the game? If Indiana starts out and Miami gets off to a 14-0 lead, that's going to change the game script. They're not going to be able to run as much. It's going to put more pressure on Mendoza, but it's true for the other side too. If you make Beck throw 50 times in a game, I don't think that's going to go well for Miami, even though he's a very accomplished quarterback. He's had a resurgent career after his time at Georgia. He's looked very good. He was, I believe, one of those high recruits coming out of Georgia and then over to Miami. This is nothing against him, but both of those teams are built on their running games. That tandem for Indiana and that Fletcher is no joke for Miami. He was the guy that basically won them that first game. That was their worst game in the college football playoffs so far, where they kind of had a knockdown drag out fight where nobody could really pass. It was just a lot of running game and defense. So between those things, I'm with you. I don't always, when a team is overhyped, not overhyped, but hyped up, it does make me a little nervous. But if there's anybody that can quell the hype and keep their teams focused, where my confidence kind of comes back in, is in a guy like Curt Cignetti, who's going to be very confident, keep his team confident and keep his team focused. They're not going to I'm not worried about them getting lost in the bright lights of this game or the Miami scene, because sometimes that can get people, especially young people. If you look at the statistics of teams playing against the Miami Heat over the course of a season, if they have a night in Miami, their record against the spread is terrible because they're out in South Beach there, and Signetti's keeping a very tight leash on these guys. So that's the part that kind of brings me back into being confident. But Mario Cristobal's no joke as a coach too, and he's going to have his team ready.
Right. And I've been waiting for Beck to make a mistake because for some reason, even at Georgia, he will make a mistake. He will make a bad interception, and we have not seen that in this playoff run. And I was reading an interesting stat this morning. In these playoffs, Beck over 20 yards passing the ball is 1 for 11 in these playoffs. So if Indiana, he cannot throw the ball long. He loses, and he crumbles. To me, he crumbles under pressure. I saw that at Georgia, and at Miami, he just seems like he does not like a high pressure game. And that stat, 1 of 11 from over 20 yards passing.
And if I remember correctly, I think that one, I'm trying to run through the college football playoffs so far. There was a Tony, their dynamic freshman receiver. There was a Tony catch where it was a short catch and he ran for a while. I think that might actually be the 20-yarder, and that makes a big difference because that's essentially like 0 of 11.
Right.
If that was a 5-yard crosser or a little bit of a screen pass and he took it for 40 yards, that's not necessarily anything Beck did. That was more on the receiver. So it's a good point. I think it's going to come down to game script, and if Indiana's behind, I'm trusting Mendoza more than I'm trusting Beck from behind, even though they both one has kind of the pedigree and the other has the growth throughout. I think Mendoza's growth arc has been more kind of straight up as far as his time at California and then over to IU, and then Beck's is a little bit more up and down, but he's recovered a little bit at Miami, but still has his weaknesses. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I'll be there with Mom. We'll be there, and we'll be able to hopefully do a live report on Sports Intel. It'll be my first show that I'll miss, but Steve will be filling in from the Sports Project, and we're going to try to do a call in the opening segment where we do a live report from Miami with IU in the college football playoff final, which was not a sentence that I ever saw myself saying, both on the IU side and radio side. So that should be fun.
How fun is that?
Exactly. So I'm happy about that. Want to talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs, but we got to take a break here, and then Jeff and I will jump into some Lions talk, but definitely some NFL playoffs as well. So stick with us. You're listening to Shayne Graham's Extra Points on Jethro FM. But I'm curious what you got on the playoffs here. I know you keep up on a lot of the sports, especially the NFL. These are some interesting matchups in the second round here for the playoffs. I was kind of previewing them a little bit as you were trying to figure out the comms issues, but I'm sure you didn't hear what I said there. But all of these are good matchups. I feel like all of them have a lot of intrigue, and I'm curious what kind of sticks out to you from the matchups here that we're headed into the second round of the playoffs.
I like the Buffalo-Denver game. I still think that I don't think so much of Josh, the quarterback of Buffalo, that he's got all the pressure on, but this coach, if he doesn't make the Super Bowl, I mean, his kryptonite has been Kansas City, and he's lost to Baltimore. And these two teams are not in the playoffs, but Denver and that defense is for real. And we're going to find out how good Bo Nix is in this playoff game, because to me, this is Bo Nix. I mean, his defense is going to let him win that game. Can Bo Nix step up and win this football game? And you're going up against, I don't like Denver's coach. To me, he just rubs me the wrong way, but he is one of the best, and he's so smart. If Buffalo, I can't remember, Shayne,
Sean Payton, which Shayne Graham actually played for Sean. So we'll have to get his tip, because we've talked about his relationship with Sean a little bit. He played, I think, 1 or 2 years there in New Orleans with him, and so it didn't have the most experience with him, but he's played for some great coaches. Sean Payton's probably a Hall of Fame coach, whether you like him or don't. Bill Belichick is obviously a Hall of Fame coach. He played for him. So he played under some great coaches, but Sean Payton is one of those guys that kind of goes one way or the other. He kind of rides that line of brash, overconfident, or confident enough. That's kind of a thin line.
So brash. But I think if the Buffalo, I can't remember the Buffalo's coach. I want to say
Sean McDermott.
I think if he does not get to the Super Bowl, he's gone. I think, and that's why I was so surprised that Harbaugh is going to go to the Giants. I thought for sure he'd be sitting waiting for this Buffalo team, because you just bring him in and it's almost automatically going to the Super Bowl with a coach like Harbaugh.
This is a bizarro world game for me, because the Bills, all those things about the Bills that you said are true, yet they're a 1.5 point favorite against the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. But I can also see why, because I don't have those numbers pulled up, but I would be willing to bet that they're one of the Super Bowl favorites still, even from the position that they're in, that they'd have to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl, because of that dynamic offense, because Josh Allen is maybe the best remaining player in the playoffs as a whole, which is often what the role that Mahomes is cast in. It's hey, the team isn't necessarily always there. Their defense got better over the years. He always had Travis Kelce and some weapons on offense, but it was the best remaining player versus the best remaining team often when it was Mahomes. Both times he matched up against the Eagles, it kind of had that feel. And so I think that's Allen to a degree with that matchup against the Broncos. But that would be, I mean, man, if you were a coach, it would be worth waiting for that Bills job, because you get to step in and coach Josh Allen, and that team is ready to go. There's not a lot of changes that need to be made there, not a lot of major ones, other than maybe the coach. I was talking about the Seahawks 49ers a little bit, I think, when we got back on air, but that's an interesting matchup between a guy that briefly played for the 49ers and Sam Darnold, and then you've got the fact that they've got to play 3 times, which is always a little bit tricky. And I've been telling people all the last few weeks here on both shows that's probably the best division in the NFL. It's just underrated because it's West Coast. You can relate to that because you probably don't catch a lot of West Coast games with your schedule, even though the football schedule is conducive to catching them because they're just playing at 4:00 here most of the time.
No, I don't.
But that's a good that's going to be a good matchup, I think. And that one could kind of go either way. It's a 7-point difference favoring the Seahawks, but the 49ers were looking very good down the stretch. And
even with the injuries.
Yeah.
It's just amazing what they've done.
That's going to be the difficult thing to overcome. I think they picked up more in this previous game. It just seems like it's almost a Lions situation from last year, where have they reached that fever pitch that the Lions, kind of that tipping point that the Lions reached last year, and really at a point this year. Once both safeties went out, that was kind of the tipping point this year, and it was really that Anzalone injury, bringing it back to the Bills, that happened before that Bills game. Yeah. And then that Bills game, they got torn to shreds on defense. And once Anzalone came back, they kind of resurfaced a little bit. But Texans are sneaky good this year.
Is so good.
They all of a sudden, D'Amico Ryan's great defender, younger than 42, by the way. I saw that statistic the other day. He was younger than the quarterback he was facing on the other side. Aaron Rodgers was a year older than D'Amico Ryan's when they matched up last week. But That's going to be an interesting matchup because both of those teams I feel like haven't really gotten their due. Some people were doing the schedule game with the Patriots a little bit. Hey, their schedule isn't strong enough, but Drake May is going to be one of the top contenders for the MVP this year. Vrabel's a great coach that should not have gotten let go. I mean, I guess the Ravens and the Steelers, I guess Tomlin stepped down, but the Ravens didn't really take note of that because Tennessee let Vrabel go, and now they're in total disarray. They ended up with Callahan. He's gone. Now they need a coach again, and Vrabel's back in the playoffs with the Patriots, and he's got the Texans, like you said, great defense, and Stroud is underrated on that team too.
He is. It's going to come down to me. That one is definitely quarterbacks. Which quarterback makes the fewest mistakes? Because Houston's defense is going to get lots of pressure on Drake May, he is. So to me, that game's come down to the quarterbacks. Who makes the fewest mistakes? They're both capable. Well, Drake doesn't turn the ball over, but Stroud can throw some terrible interceptions. Can he stay turnover free? And I think Houston wins that without any turnovers. With that defense, it's just like, give us 10, 12 points, and we'll take you there, boys.
Stroud's a little more likely to gun it, which is where the turnovers come in, because that's what happened with the Chargers game in the first round. Herbert kind of gunned it a little bit, and that defense, the Patriots defense, is no slouch either, and they took advantage of those turnovers there, and that's how they won that game. But Rams-Bears is the last one. We talked about that a little bit with Eric, but obviously that's probably the most hometown interest because it's the Bears with Ben Johnson at the helm, division rival against your former quarterback there, who's it's still amazing me there with the Rams because his longevity and durability, that's been amazing. He's outlasting his receivers there. He's outlasting everybody and still looking like he could maybe even tack on another Super Bowl if things go right.
If Ben Johnson can win this game, to me, I just don't, as bad as the Bears defense is, I just don't know how they're going to stop that passing game. I do not see it. Even with the weather, Stafford's used to it. He's played in the NFC North for 13, 14 years.
They're another team that benefits heavily from turnovers, and Stafford's not real likely to give you a lot of turnovers, especially in a game like this. So